think we've heard a couple times Ezekiel more touches in the first game. When you look at that running back depth that you have, how tough is it for guys to get in there?
Well, it's tough because you don't have control of the actual events that take place during the course of the game. If I can sit there and have a crystal ball and say I'm going to have this exact amount of plays, and then I can sit there and say, okay, well, these guys are going to get that number of plays within that set number. But it doesn't work that way, And I'm always a firm believer if a running back gets the hot foot and gets in the rhythm during the course of the game, then it does that back an injustice for me to take him out at that time when he's got a rhythm going. So we had a little bit of those two scenarios going on this past weekend. Jordan got into a nice real rhythm. The game slowed down for him. He ripped off a couple of explosive runs, and I felt real comfortable with him during the course of the game. Was not the initial game plan for me going in with those backs. I really had the thought process of getting those guys in early on. But I got to give credit to Buffalo. Buffalo presented some things to us that got us a little off rhythm at times, and I had a veteran in there that I felt good about.
Quick follow-up to that real quick. Bronte Dunn, we heard all week about second, maybe third guy in. I don't think he played a snap at all. Is that a performance issue? Was it a discipline issue?
Again, it was just the flow of the game. I did not get him in there. He's a young man who works his butt off every single day. Those are the tough decisions that I have to make as a positional coach at times, and it doesn't feel good. When you sit there on a daily basis and you watch a kid like Bronte, work his tail off. But, we have a thing around here that all of our players are held to the standard of. If you find your way on special teams, then you can find your way, on the offense or on the defensive side of the ball. And Bronte needs to continue to compete with his teammates to find a little bit more of a role on special teams so that, he gets his opportunity to play on offense is justified.
Front row, Bill.
Bill Rabinowitz, Dispatch. Jordan Hall obviously had a big game. It's such a tough year for him last year. What kind of changes have you seen in him as a player, as a person this year?
Well, he's made an unbelievable change as a person. I mean, he's grown, tremendously. All the adversities that he had to face with the injuries and some of the things that he quite honestly put on himself and with the consequences that he had to face, he's really grown and embraced all those things, and now it's transpiring into his football play. And he's a mature individual on the football field, very smart. He can sit there and come out of a series of the game and sit down on the bench and tell you exactly what goes on, and again, that's a very comfortable thing for a positional coach that's out there who doesn't quite have the vision that the players have while they're out there playing, and come back to the sideline and provide the information that he does. It really helps us to keep the flow of our game day adjustments going and puts us in good position to have success. So, that by itself is a tremendous quality to have in an individual during the course of the game.
He was originally going to be the hybrid, and now he's obviously the tailback. Yeah. How do you see his role evolving, especially with Rod Smith coming back, with Carlos Hyde coming back?
Well, the beauty of Jordan, again, like I said, his strength is his intelligence on the football field, and he has been cross-trained, and he is continually being cross-trained at both of those positions. So with the addition of Rod Smith coming back, it doesn't necessarily mean that Jordan Hall's role gets lesser. No, it just may be distributed a little bit differently throughout the scheme. So we'll see as we get a better feel for San Diego State, and what they present to us, and we'll define those roles real soon here.
Front row, right. Tim? Yeah, Tim A. Columbus Dispatch. Stan, what do you want to see? Coach Meyer was talking about Rod Smith. Mm-hmm. If he has a good week of practice, whatever, he could be in the mix. What do you want to see from him in this week of practice?
Well, Rod Smith is an energy provider, and like anything else, Rod Smith has to show his value on special teams rather early, this week in practice. But Rod Smith, he brings the power component. He's a guy who plays on contact. He plays through contact. He gives you a nice matchup against bigger backers coming through the line of scrimmage, and sometimes those backs are forced to block on their defensive ends, and he's a big body type that can do that as well. So, really all phases, Rod is a commodity to this football team, and having him back is definitely a plus for us.
And then Saturday, like with Bronte Dunn not getting to play and stuff, but with Dontre Wilson, was there literally y'all wanted to see some things from him and from Ezekiel? Was that part of the mix too going in? I mean,
yeah, these guys.
How you kind of played that, I guess.
Yeah, well, we went into the game, with the mindset if we can get these freshmen in the ball game, in the shoe in front of 107,000 fans. We really wanted to see how they respond to that, and you never know what you're going to get from a true freshman in that environment. So, yeah, we definitely wanted to see if there were going to be, an individual that gets in there and just kind of goes with the flow, gets in the rhythm, attacks the game, or if it's going to be an individual who flinches, because of the threat of the atmosphere. But no, both of those two kids passed the test. Got to find a way to get them more involved. But we're extremely excited about the God-given talent that they present to this offense. There's no doubt about that.
There's such a thing as telling Dontre Wilson never to slow down.
I've never seen him slow down. Everything's 100 miles an hour.
When he dropped the ball, he seemed a little frantic out there.
Yeah.
Excited maybe is the word.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the word. That kid is not afraid of anything. He is not fazed by much at all. So it's just a matter of him getting in the rhythm of things, and I'll be disappointed if he's not better this week than he was last week, and I think that will continue to progress throughout the whole entire year for that young man.
Dave Biddle, Bucknuts. Stan, Warren Ball was the first running back in the game. I know he only got backup running back in there. I know he only got 2 carries. What does that say about him that he was the top backup in there?
Well, it's just these guys get what they deserve, and he obviously made me feel comfortable during the course of last week's practice for me to put him in the ball game, and he's a young man who's very conscientious and, does a lot right. He's a freshman out there too last week. It was his first time getting a chance to play, so I didn't know what to expect there either, but very, very pleased with the way he responded out there and the way he played and his aggressiveness with the ball, without the ball. I mean, he really proved to me that he can be trustworthy out there in a game situation.
Quick follow-up. With Bronte Dunn, he came in such a highly touted recruit. Do you have to kind of keep his head up when he's not getting carries, when other guys are maybe passing him? Like, what do you have to...
That running back group is very, very competitive, no doubt about it. So the answer is yes. You have to keep them encouraged. You have to keep them on the grind. They have to just put their head down and just grind and earn what it is they want, and that is a message that is delivered to them from the moment they walk through this door. I mean, this is Ohio State, and we pride ourselves on, loading up our positional groups with the best talent in the country, and I think he understands that, So as long as he continues to work and keep on pushing forward, I think that Bronte Dunn will be more than fine here at Ohio State.
Urban said after the game Saturday, 40 points, almost a little disappointing. Kind of a good thing if you're disappointed with 40. How many points should this team score in the game?
Well, I don't know if it's a matter of points. I think it is with Urban, but I think it was more of a matter of how we played at times. We weren't very consistent at times. Just some fundamental things reared its head, or a lack thereof for that matter. I thought we played extremely high. Our pad level was high across the board. Buffalo played underneath us. And then there was times where we kind of, got off rhythm and the response wasn't quite the way we wanted it from our football players, and if we had everything lined up and the stars were perfect, I think that, yes, we had plenty of opportunity to put more points on the board. But the thing that we need to address, immediately is just fundamentally, where did the breakdowns take place and why? You know, we didn't see those issues in practice. Why in the game setting does it rear its head? And that's the maturity of the team, that's the leadership of the team, and that's just people stepping up in those roles and making sure that that doesn't happen again.
50?
50 sounds good, as long as we're at least 1 or 2 more points more than our opponent.
Just real quick, you're dealing with this week, you'll deal with it again with Carlos in a couple weeks. Is there an overall staff philosophy or philosophy you have with guys coming off suspensions and getting them back in the mix? Are they just back, or do they have to prove something? Or
They just have to, what they do is they have to come in and earn their position back. Nothing is given to these guys. You know, again, it starts with special teams. We have a philosophy that if you want to play your respective position, you have to provide some value to this team on special teams, and that is truly our philosophy here. You know, so if Carlos Hyde gets reinstated and he can add some value to our special teams, then great. You know, then we'll sit there and we'll take a good look at where he stands in that running back group, you know.
What are your early impressions of San Diego State? How much can you really glean from their opening tape with everything?
Yeah, I know they lost a tough one, you know, this past week against Eastern Illinois, but I'm going to tell you, they bring some speed to the table defensively. I think they have a disruptive nose. They like to play similar to what Buffalo plays in their defensive scheme, as far as some odd fronts, some 3-down fronts. You know, they're a 3-3 mentality football team, and they just do some things from a blitz standpoint that can cause some problems if we're not up on our game, you know. But the one thing I can see on film is that they're well coached. They get off blocks on defense. They run around. They're always around the football. So we've got to be very, very tight with our game plan so our players can play extremely fast against all the different looks that San Diego State will present.
You have that 5'10" senior that plays what they call the Aztec position, and he can be on the defensive line one play and then safety the next.
Yeah.
How much does that increase the difficulty of reading what they're presenting?
It presents a lot of you know, complications if we're not on point with what we're telling our kids to look at. But no, he's a very disruptive football player. He's run support, and like you said, sometimes he plays the center of the field, you know. But if you're going to play the center of the field against us with the speed that we have on the perimeter, you better at some point declare one or the other, you know. So, you know, we're going to take a good look at that. You know, the one thing I can say is that he is a smart football player. He's a very physical football player, and we definitely need to be aware of where he is every play.
Or does it look like everything's called for him?
You know, you can definitely tell that the scheme is built around his talents, no doubt about it. I mean, he's playing right down the middle of that defense, you know, so he's definitely an important piece to that scheme.
Stan, we pay close attention to who gets in what order. Do the backs themselves pay close attention, and do they read a lot into that as well, just as we do?
I'm sure they do, you know, but you know, the one thing I try to be with these kids is fair, and I don't want things hitting them sideways. So they know what's expected of them. They know what's expected of them in their role to this football team. So a lot of those concerns are addressed before the game.